Being cringe. It's actually a lot of fun. I've always been a weird kid. I used to watch AMVs of A Silent Voice and Wolf Children. I listened to the Living Tombstone. I made animation memes with a keyboard and mouse. I played with LPS, like that was my jam. I knew all the gens, and my first ever LPS was this tiny little dog sitting down. These are all things I did in secret in fear of being called cringe or weird, but slowly I learned to do it without shame. Heck, I'm reading Warrior Cats right now for the first time because I was never allowed to as a kid. Well worth a read if you haven't. If you like this kind of stuff, definitely suggest. Little me would have eaten this up and I would have made a ton of fan art. But how did I go from hiding these weird kid habits to actually embracing them? Well, I went to conventions a lot as a kid and it definitely helped me slowly embrace it. I was always an odd one out and I never let it get to me because I knew that when I got home I could draw fan art and listen to nightcore music. However, I tried to hide this part of me when I was around my friends. And plot twist, if you have to hide your true self around your friends, maybe they aren't that good of a friend. But what do I know, right? I totally didn't experience this. Either way, being cringe is honestly a lot of fun. My biggest role models when I was a kid are weird. My mom, for example, she did drag and cosplay for a while. And when I was little, like 4 or 5, I made friends with a drag queen at a Star Trek convention who would let me stand on her 6-inch heels while she was dancing so we could dance together. I made friends with another kid because we both liked rabbits so much that we had like a goal. We were gonna make a barn, we were gonna have specific species, and we drew a lot of fan art together. All these things are objectively cringe, but I'd much rather take my chance being cringe than being normal. This was my first ever mask, and it is bad. But I loved making it. It was so freeing, and when I would wear it, I felt the most myself. I slowly found a voice. And though it's rough to look at, I made a lot of friends there. I hand make paper stars to give to people at cons and Ren fairs. Last Ren fair, I made over 100 to hand out to people. I met some cosplayers, some Therians and furries, and even some little kids would run up and ask for some. It was amazing. I felt so at home and so in my own skin, and people enjoyed it. And I had a blast. In 2020, because people were isolated, it was a really experimental time for people with fandoms, hobbies, fashion, etc. And because people were more isolated and bored, they started to post these things online. People will argue that 2020 was cringe, and it was. But why should we shame people for trying to find their voice and find what they liked? 2020 shows that despite how hard everything was at the time, people found ways to share love and express themselves, even learn how to accept new things. This process made what were considered weird or uncommon a bit more normalized, and the stigma around certain things kind of died out, such as like cosplay, D&D, new music, and Ren fairs were somewhat normalized, and a lot of my friends who I'd never see at a convention before would walk around Ren fairs now. It was a fun and experimental time, and the people sitting back and complaining about how it's weird or cringe often aren't having as much fun as the people that are doing these things and expressing themselves. I personally would much rather be the person having fun and being cringe than the person sitting back and complaining and possibly ruining times for other people. I remember running up to my friends when I was young and telling them about an anime I really liked. And they told me that was weird, and it really hurt because I really enjoyed it and I wanted them to enjoy it. But I realized that if that made me weird for enjoying a show, then I'd much rather be weird. After that, I slowly started growing and got more comfortable in my own skin, and I started admitting when I liked stuff. And that's made me some amazing friends that I have for a very long time. I started telling people I liked anime, D&D, gaming, books, and making masks. Now I feel the most myself, and I don't think I felt that in a long time. When people hear the word cringe, they assume it's bad, and there are definitely times when it has been. But if it's just someone being unapologetically themselves and they aren't harming themselves or others, then it's not a bad thing. Let people be cringe. All this to say that being cringe isn't bad. If you aren't harming anyone, and if you are just being creative and yourself, then do it. Be yourself. People often say that, but then if you are actually yourself, tell you it's cringe. That's the point. Be cringe. Everybody is a dork to a degree, so let people be dorks. Just be yourself and comfortable in your own skin. Times can be tough, but no matter what, you are loved. Thank you for your wonderful time and have a good day. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like the long form style, please let me know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps me out. I wanted to make this video because times are tough, and instead of doing nothing about it, I thought I could just share a little extra love. And I really hope you appreciated it and took something away from this. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.